After selling more copies in a day than the Veilguard managed in a month, all the while garnering widespread critical acclaim, it's hardly a surprise that KCD2 is now being discussed in the same league as the greats of the genre. And for good reason. It ticks most of the boxes for a classic RPG experience. It's immersive, rewarding, epic in scale, full of interesting choices and consequences, and rammed to the heaven with lots of cardio. But I'd argue that what really enables KCD2 to go toe-to-toe against the greats of the genre isn't its unique mastery of the conventional role-playing formula. Skyrim is more immersive for one, The Witcher 3 has more poetic and elegant writing, and Baldur's Gate 3 is far more reactive. But what no other game in the genre, especially in the big budget space, has is KCD's humanity.
He came to me himself because he wanted a mature woman to breed with. And he never even pulled it out.
No other game has shown such a commitment to the belief that within the mundane, the average, the everyday, and the ordinary, there exists all of the tragedy, comedy, and drama
They've done so much to hurt us.
you'd ever need. And this is what makes KCD2 truly distinct, a standout in the genre. You see, unlike pretty much every other big budget RPG, Warhorse's magnum opus isn't about grand existential narratives or conquering heroism. Our protagonist Henry is on the lower rungs of a society where that really matters, who by his own misfortune managed to be caught up in a cause well above his pay grade. And in the day-to-day, he's more likely to end up in jail over a drunken brawl, knee-deep in the deceased,
Oh, good. That must be him.
or awkwardly trying to navigate the nearly impossible task of translating Geordie
But to ding away at the mound according to God's laws.
into an understandable language
One bit at a time.
than he is conversing with kings and nobles. And the conversation he engages in reflects this grounded theme. Dialogue in KCD2 is purposefully construed to convey the messy, everyday reality of actual conversation.
Sorry to say this, but you're very busy? May I ask who you are?
Henry, sir. How come you're so...
Big, wise, courteous?
Compared to the original game, the main story is flush with grand political drama, epic sieges, and high tragedy. But even in these moments, KCD2 never loses sight of its simple charm. Now, none of this may sound particularly distinctive or innovative, but in the context of the modern RPG space, Warhorse's approach is profoundly revolutionary and fresh in comparison. A singular experience among a genre teeming with more options than an Epstein Island buffet menu. You see, virtually every modern RPG is built on the hypothesis that what we really want from a role-playing game is to feel powerful. And how do you achieve this? Well, by disconnecting the story and characters just about as far away from mediocrity as possible.
We're going into the fade, aren't we?
That's why in pretty much every game you play a chosen one, someone who either due to extreme luck or special ability is placed in a position to decide the fate of worlds. And this chosen one is always surrounded by a cast of exceptional people who speak in witty Marvel one-liners,
I think we're gonna need a bigger sword.
Mine's big.
can rattle off poetic prose at the rate of a misfiring gattle gun,
Hello, darling. Don't be shy. I promise not to bite until we've been formally introduced. My name's Astarion, and I've spent a century stalking the night, hunting for pretty morsels just like you.
and are often placeholders for archetypes, not real people. You know, like the lovable but shady rogue or the noble knight. And just to be clear, I'm not hating on any of these games, or the idea of a power fantasy. The industry is partly right. The industrial capitalist behemoth whose wheels our lives ceaselessly rotate around has deprived us of every basic level of control over our own lives. Even the lowliest peasant wasn't fined or kicked off their lot for planting a seed 30 seconds too late, or failing to wear company-issued attire, because there wasn't any. And so for those of us who aren't masters of the system, video games are pretty much the only venue where we can exert some control over our environment and feel the satisfaction of truly achieving something, however sad that reality may be. And even if this wasn't the case, who doesn't love the thought of saving the world from their sofa? I know I do. I had a great time with Baldur's Gate 3, and that game fits exactly into those tropes. It's got a chosen one character who can decide the fate of the world, and a cast of companions that, while mostly well developed, are drawn from heroes of old, leaders, geniuses, or people with just a great head of hair. Not regular, everyday baldies with relatable struggles. So you might be asking, what's the downside to this then? What does KCD2 have that a but Baldur's Gate 3 or Skyrim or even Witcher doesn't? Well, it all comes down to the other side of our mundane, bleak reality, the coping mechanisms.
Now, eat one of these, all right? You're gonna wanna huff a little glue and drink some beer.
Humor, tragedy, and drama are all just survival mechanisms that are generated to help us deal with the challenges of everyday life. And so the more mundane, small scale, irrelevant, and meaningless the situation is, the more these coping mechanisms flourish. There is no greater tragedy than unexpected, meaningless loss. And no more fertile ground for comedy than the absurdity of everyday life.
It was a joke, Mark. I was joking. It was a Christmas joke.
Doing well and spending time with heroes is just not that funny, tragic, or dramatic, even if it is stimulating and exhilarating. That's why even the best examples struggle to go beyond campy humor, clever quips for the vast majority of their playtime. And the worst are just full of those "I'm so quirky" characters.
Sorry. Just breaking things.
That think being annoying is a personality. The best TV writers and producers have long understood this reality. There's a reason why most of the great dramas and comedy shows deal with the average everyday person. The mediocrity, not the success. The underdogs and the social outcasts, not the heroes. Arguably the greatest crime drama of all time isn't about a criminal mastermind, but a depressed, washed up mafia boss. And the best sitcoms are modeled on the Seinfeld formula of people doing nothing, engaging in petty disputes, going to work, socializing, and trying and often failing to navigate the world, not grand narratives. Always Sunny in Philadelphia has built 17 seasons and more to go on the idea that simply writing scenarios for 4 degenerate alcoholics living completely narcissistic lives devoid of higher meaning was comedy gold.
What kind of cream pie are you talking about? What kind of cream pie are you talking about?
South Park, a universally regarded classic, is literally about childish nonsense. And Curb Your Enthusiasm, the best improv show in town, follows an obnoxious rich guy who spends all his day getting into ridiculously pointless arguments that he never comes out on top of. And yet, it is completely hilarious. Because nothing is funnier than watching ordinary people in completely mediocre and mundane situations trying to navigate the absurdity of life and often failing to come out of top. And this is what makes the Kingdom Come Deliverance series, but especially KCD2 in my opinion, truly special. You see, until Warhorse's masterpiece, no RPG had truly embraced this style of storytelling and delivered on its potential at the same time.
I'm the greatest! Oh, Bosmag, don't fall, you idiot! You call it idiot, you...
On a personal note, I can't remember an RPG that sent me on such a roller coaster of emotions. I'm the sort of guy that will reluctantly let out a smirk on your average witty quip in your Baldur's Gate 3s and finds most of the writing in RPGs to be severely lacking in humanity and life. But 2 hours into KCD2 and I'd gone from heart palpitations to furious laughter already. The final scene of this mini intro act stands out in particular. After barely escaping an ambush with their life, Henry and Hans finally arrive at the castle they were originally supposed to deliver the letter to. Unfortunately for the pair, the gate is closed and there's no one in sight, so naturally they decide to try and draw the attention of the guards within by banging on the front door. Now in most games what would follow is the guards come forth, refuse access entirely, after which the pair would try and sneak in or prove their identity by recovering the letter, or if they're lucky they'll task the lads with a quest to win their trust. But this just isn't realistic. It's not how things would actually go down in a medieval society. You see, feudal society was highly elitist. How you were treated was largely based on your status from birth, and nobility was not only seen as a privilege, but a sign of superior intelligence, morality, and wisdom. And before modern IDs, the only way to judge someone's status was by the symbols of wealth and power they carried with them. So if 2 beggar-looking fellows were heard banging on a locked door in a castle, the guards within would be far more likely to instinctively class them as low-life troublemakers who need to be taught a lesson than give them a quest or treat them humanely. Now, conventional wisdom might tell you, okay, that might be the reality, but do players really want to spend their time being berated by guards in one of the earliest missions? Isn't that massively off-putting? But what the writers at Warhorse realized was that by veering away from realism you also veer away from the natural absurdity that comes with our reality. Feudalism, in many ways, is completely absurd. A system that is so artificial that a lord is either berated or bowed down to purely based on the seal they carry and the clothes they wear is ridiculous. And by veering away from this, it makes it far more difficult to tap into the hilarity and tragedy that comes with such an absurd system. And so instead, this happens. Now I don't know about you guys, but I can't get enough of this. Watching Hans screech about his greatness as he writhes in excrement-soaked rags is peak absurdist comedy, and all it took was a bucket of crap. And this is the magic of KCD2. By having faith that our reality is absurd, ridiculous, and tragic enough, without any embellishments, it's able to produce truly unforgettable moments from the smallest, meaningless, and most mundane situations. Some of the conversations with basic guards after being caught doing something dodgy are the funniest moments you'll find in gaming.
That attempt at strangling will cost you. You'll either pay in groschen, or your back will feel the cane.
Wait, I'll explain everything. A famous ringing master taught me that wrestling technique. So I wanted to try it out.
What master? What are you babbling about?
Otjud of Austria. We're lucky that he came to visit our region, but he only teaches men who have proven themselves. Listen, if you let this slide, I'll tell him you're a great wrestler and he'll come and teach you a thing or two.
And the side quests, small tasks, and easy to miss roadside interactions are truly priceless. So in summary, while I love a good old epic power fantasy as much as the next man, I hope KCD2 and 1 serve as examples that there is another way. Epic scale and existential stakes can produce exceptionally thrilling and gut-wrenching adventures, but this doesn't have to be the default. Mediocre, everyday scenarios full of everyday people speaking and acting with the imperfections, contradictions, and lack of cinematic finesse that real life carries can produce all the absurdity, fun, terror, tension, and emotional impact you'll ever need for a memorable adventure. And if you think this video is even 10% as memorable and want it to reach more than you, drop a like and subscribe and leave a comment. The algorithm really values engagement, so I'd appreciate the help.